If you don't change your physiology, you won't get anything. So an incantation is not only you speak it, but you embody what you're saying with all the intensity you can. And you do it with enough repetitions that it sticks in your head. Like It's a Small World, now the conversation in your head is always the same and it gives you what you want. So you use your body and your voice. So 17 years ago, I started doing things. I was working for Jim Rohn, this speaker, and I was 17 years old. I had long hair, minestrone soup, acne on my face. And I was trying to call on Bear Stearns type of people and convince them why they should go to this man's seminar and be more successful. I was driving a 1968 Volkswagen that I had earned at $40 a week as a janitor. The only way I did it was park far from the building and then go in, and I love people and I believe, but I put myself in state, and I was able to influence people that were far more successful than I was at the time. I would do something that I still do backstage and have done for 23 years because I don't hope I'm going to be in a good state, I demand it. So I do an incantation using my whole body. I'd say, I now command my subconscious mind to direct me in helping as many people as possible alive today to better their lives by giving me the strength, the emotion, the persuasion, the humor, the brevity, whatever it takes to show these people and get these people to change their lives now. And I would do that literally driving in my Volkswagen to a meeting in LA on the freeway for 40 minutes. People are looking at me, I'm screaming at the top of my lungs. They're going, I know he's a serial killer, I know he is. But by the time I entered that room, when two people meet, if there's rapport, the person who's most certain will always influence the other person. And I was totally certain, and they were trying to get revved up to certainty. Do you agree with this, yes or no? I do another one because I was poor. I changed my mindset. I kept doing things, but I never got beyond it. I'd say God's wealth is circulating in my life. His wealth flows to me in avalanches of abundance. All my needs, desires, and goals are met instantaneously by infinite intelligence, for I'm one with God and God is everything. And I would imagine the abundance in my life, and I would feel so grateful. And a year later, I went from making $38,000 a year to making $1 million a year in 1 year.
How do you get better? How do you know, listen, I was good today, but I want to be great? What are the metrics you use? I mean, is there data you get back? How do you improve?
Well, we have all the social media data, which we use big data to take a look at, but I also look at it individually because there's nuances that you pick up in that way. So I feed that, look at that. But my biggest piece is watching the audience, and then, every day of my life, I get feedback. I'm walking down the street, a dozen people come and tell me these beautiful stories, how their life has changed. And very much like she shared earlier, they'll give me way too much credit. So I always straighten out and go, look, you did this. I'm glad I got to help. And I try to keep that balance with everybody. But my measurement is both emotional state impact as well as execution. Did they lose 20 pounds? Did they go turn their business around? My business is organized around, I really want to help people improve all the qualities, areas of their life, but there's about 7 that matter the most. It's your body, it's your emotions, it's your relationships, it's the way you manage time, it's finances, it's your work, and it's the spiritual side of life. And so what I spent my life doing is modeling people that are the best in the world. You find a couple who've been together for 65 years in their 80s, late 80s, and they're still making love and passionate, not just hanging out. They're not lucky, they're doing something different. So I'm constantly finding those patterns so that hopefully I can compress decades into days. I can learn from those decades of life experience, save it, bring the answer here to myself and others, and see a measurable impact.
I've always been the type of person who I thought of myself as resilient, that I could always make my way back. Being stuck in the past it makes it extremely difficult to find your way out. And future thinking for me has always been the way to get over difficult times, to be able to look over the darkness to a potential time of light. Very rarely do I look backwards. I'm always looking forward.
When I was 25 or so, I probably weighed about 138 pounds. I smoked like a pack of cigarettes a day. I drank tremendous amount of alcohol. I was from northern Alberta, this rough little town up in northern Alberta called Fairview, and there were long winters there, and my friends were heavy drinkers, and most of them dropped out of school by the time they were 15 or 16, went off to work on the oil rigs, and it was a rough town, and we drank a lot. And I started when I was 14, and and so I had a lot of bad habits, let's say, and things and I wasn't in great shape physically, and I was also still intellectually obsessed as I am now, and so that that would have been in 85. But I decided around then, about 85, 84, something like that, maybe a little earlier, that I was really going to try to get my act together. And so I started doing that. First of all, I quit smoking. Well, that took a long time because I eventually had to quit drinking too in order to quit smoking. And I started working out, and playing sports, which I'd never done. I had a fine time when I was a kid, but I needed really to get disciplined. And I had to do it because I was working on these hard problems that I've been discussing with all of you, and I've been working on them really, obsessively since I was probably about 18, maybe even earlier than that. And got to the point around 25 when I was in graduate school trying to get my PhD, so doing all my research. Like, I published 15 papers by the time I graduated with my PhD, which was by a fairly large measure the most papers that any graduate student at that time had ever published at McGill. I think that's right. It might have been twice as many, or maybe twice as many, maybe even 3 times as many. And at the same time, I wrote Maps of Meaning, which was a terribly difficult thing to do, because I was writing about 3 hours a day doing that, and I couldn't do all that and continue with my misbehavior, my sort of, what would you say, my hedonistic, my massive hedonistic consumption of alcohol and all of that. I just couldn't keep it up, and also work seriously on the issues that were at hand. So, I had to stop. That's a sacrifice. I had to stop messing about and straighten myself out.
What are your thoughts on changing reality with thoughts and repetitions? Will this work, or is it just a theory? Okay, so there's no doubt that the way that the brain rewires itself is through repetition. Neurons that fire together wire together, so you very much can create reality. I want to say that it isn't, unfortunately, like the Matrix, but it's so close that you might as well think of it like that. But to me, that's just a metaphor to get people to understand that you really can influence your hardwiring in your own brain, and you certainly can influence the outside world by gaining a set of skills that allow you to go out and manipulate it. And I'll give you a super easy example. Learning to build a house means you can actually build a house, and you can manifest that and turn a tree or concrete into a physical structure. So you can definitely have that kind of influence. You can obviously influence other people by learning about psychology. So all of these things are very, very possible.
You need to bet on your strengths and don't give a about what you suck at. You're gonna, way too many people in this room are gonna spend the next 30, 40 years of their lives trying to check the boxes of the things that they're not as good at, and that you're gonna waste a load of time and lose. I highly recommend auditing yourself, or if you have no empathy or EQ or self-awareness, then find somebody in your family or friendship that does, and let them tell you who you are. And once you believe that, either for yourself or someone else, told you, go directly all chips all into that, because that is the only possible way, in my opinion, watching from the outside. That is, let me rephrase, that is a very highly likely way of over-indexing, because the truth is, if you want to be an anomaly, you've got to act like one. And so that's it. That's what I got. So thanks for having me.
How important is rest, and how much do you get of it? I'm trying hard at the moment to pursue my dreams, but sometimes I feel out of balance because I lack sleep, for example. All right, boys and girls, I'm telling you, I'm just gonna be super arrogant for a second. I built $1 billion business without setting an alarm. Prioritize sleep. I work a lot. In fact, I'll take the Pepsi challenge. Anybody that wants to go head to toe with me in terms of what you get done, not just raw number of hours aimed at a computer or whatever it is that you're supposed to be doing and performing totally suboptimally. I'll just take the Pepsi challenge on that. I always prioritize sleep. I always prioritize my psychological optimization. So for instance, if I'm working around the clock, in fact, this happened not too long ago. I was just working so many hours and it ended up encompassing too many things that took more energy than they were giving that I started to feel anxious in fact, I started to feel claustrophobic. That's exactly how I felt. I wanted to crawl out of my own skin. I don't know how else to explain it. It's just like, it was driving me nuts. And I realized I need to chill for a minute. I need to meditate. I need to take an hour and go do something that's still moving me towards my dreams because that's my thing, but that I really enjoy. And so maybe in those moments I go read a comic because we're building a comic book publishing empire. So that's part of what I need to do anyway. But reading the comic is fun. I also need to meditate and just literally breathe from my diaphragm. So get the sleep that you need. That's super critical. You do not need to set an alarm. Sleep as much as you need to. And by the way, if you're doing things that are exciting to you, I know people, some of you are gonna believe me because hopefully I've earned the credibility with you up to this point, and some of you are gonna call total bullshit. You can ask my wife. I can set an internal alarm clock in my mind only if I'm excited about it. Or really stressed out, but that's a whole nother thing which I try hardly to do ever. But when I'm really excited about something, I can set an internal alarm clock. This morning, I told myself, wake up at 4:15. What time did I wake up, boys and girls? Not 4:14, not 4:16. I woke up at 4:15 because that was the time that I told myself to wake up. I can usually get within 5 minutes of what time I tell myself to wake up. It doesn't always work. And if I'm tired, I don't give myself that edict. I tell myself to sleep as much as I need. But when I'm really excited about something, there's something I want to get up and work on, and I'm afraid there just won't be enough time, and it's a reasonable amount of sleep. I'll say anything north of 5 hours, I can usually get myself to just wake up. So get the sleep. Prioritize cognitive optimization because then you're efficient, and efficiency is the name of the game. So sleep, sleep, sleep. I am not a guy proposing set your alarm, get up at 4 a.m. no matter what. It's not me. Go to bed early, get your sleep, meditate, get in a good, peaceful, calm, creative state so that you can really crush it.